85-year-old Bill Indepth takes pride in staying on top of his bills.
Well, usually when I get it, I'll go to the post office, or whether it's a bank bill, pay for it.
He was stunned when his former energy provider Engie admitted in June that he'd been overcharged more than $10,000 over a 4-year period.
I thought I was up with the fairies. Yeah, I really thought I was up there with the fairies. And it makes you wonder how many other people are being caught in the trap.
After several confusing follow-up statements, Engie informed Mr Indepth that actually he owed them $1,120 and called in the debt collectors.
I was having a few sleepless nights over it, and that wouldn't be just, say, tonight and tomorrow night. It was over a number of weeks and that.
Hi, Dad. How are you going with your paperwork?
Yeah. Oh, we're getting there.
With 30 solar panels on his roof to help reduce his electricity costs, Bill and his daughter Fiona couldn't figure out how he'd ended up in debt.
How can anyone tell, going through Engie's paperwork, what's right and what's not right? Because every time you talk to them, they've got a different answer.
Have they given you any explanation on how all of this has happened?
No. No.
What do you think of that?
No, I wouldn't use the language that I would use. It's to do with the rear end of an animal there.
Fiona was also shocked to discover that in mid-2022, Engie had put up their peak power price by more than 70%. Within the space of a month, her parents' peak rate went from 43 cents per kilowatt hour to 75 cents per kilowatt hour and continued to climb to an extremely high peak rate of 83 cents per kilowatt hour in 2024.
I think it's ruthless, is what they are. They're quite ruthless. They're obviously taking advantage of people, because before I decided to follow this up, I'd done a few Google searches, and there's a lot of complaints from people. Another one, July this year.
Mr Indepth eventually went to South Australia's Energy and Water Ombudsman. The bill was then reduced to $280, which he was tempted to pay. But in the end, Bill decided to make a stand.
Well, I got to a stage where I thought, I don't owe them any money. They say I owe the money. And I'm going to sit on my dig and say, I don't owe you that money. That money is a default of you, not of me.
When they get it wrong, you lose faith in the entire system. Now, this pensioner is thinking to themselves, well, what do I owe? What am I being charged? And how can anyone watching this who's a customer of this company have any faith in their bills?
Engie is a French-owned energy giant with customers in all mainland states, apart from Western Australia. In the 2025 National Rank the Retailer report, the company was found to be the worst performing retailer in the country. In November last year, Engie was fined $1.2 million in Victoria by the state's energy regulator for failing to respond to complaints in a timely manner. And in August, it was forced to repay up to 3,000 South Australian customers after admitting they were being overcharged.
There's no excuses for getting it wrong. This company's been in trouble before about its billing and notification policies. You'd think they'd pay attention, you'd think they'd get it right, and yet they can't.
South Australia's Energy Minister Tom Koutsantonis has referred Engie to both the ACCC and the Australian Energy Regulator over its billing practices and customer service.
I think the way they've conducted themselves, the way they've spoken to their customers, the way they've treated their customers and the way they've responded to their customers is substandard.
In a statement, Engie said it had made changes to staffing, training and customer processes. It apologised for the mistakes made with Mr Indepth's bills, blaming human error.
The energy market is often described as suffering from a loyalty tax. And what that means is that as a customer, if you show loyalty to your energy company, in other words, you don't shop around very often and you just stay with the same company, the company slowly increases your prices, often without you really noticing, but after 2, 3, 4 years, you can really be on a very high price.
Professor Ron Ben David is the former chair of the Essential Services Commission in Victoria, the state's independent regulator.
When this market was designed, it was designed on the principle of buyer beware. In other words, customer, you shop around and you're responsible for finding the best deal. If you don't, bad luck, it's your responsibility. I don't believe that model works in the energy market.
In its latest electricity inquiry report, the ACCC said that bills are becoming more complex and that 73% of Australian households are not on the best value electricity deal available to them.
Call your retailer and ask them, am I on the cheapest possible contract that you have available right now? Keep me informed. Knowledge is power. Don't give that power to these retailers. Keep the power in your own pocket and be informed about what you're paying.
But Professor Ron Ben David says a completely new approach is needed.
I have been advocating for consumer duty, a responsibility placed on energy companies to act in the best interests of their customers.
Bill Indepth says he regrets not checking his bills more closely, but adds he wouldn't have understood them if he did.
I should be more vigilant. Yeah.
But why do you have to be the one that's vigilant? Why can't you trust your retailer?
I wouldn't be sitting here now if I knew the answer.
Engie eventually conceded it owes Bill $2,500, but he says after all the confusion, he's reluctant to accept the offer and wants a full explanation on the billing errors.
And I'd hate to see anybody else get caught out the same way.